The peaceful grains of the Mid-Atlantic coast are about to be thrown asunder under the big feet of the monsters of motorsports. The 2024 George Carpenter Cup is on the line as Monsters on the Beach returns to the Old Dominion oceanfront. Across the Mid-Atlantic coast, we welcome you to Monsters on the Beach 2024 here in Virginia Beach, Virginia, and the 25th anniversary of this sensational event that kicked off in 1997, bringing it back here to 2024, brought to you, as always, by Pungo Off-Road and Eastern Truck and Accessories from a chilly, windy Virginia Beach, Virginia. The weather not really cooperating this weekend, but a little rain might do some favors on this loose surface. A couple storylines rolling into this weekend. Of course, the first, the return of the Old Dominion Zone Virginia Giant for the first time in over a decade. The Illuminator, the Warp Motorsports crew back and forth this weekend, trying to see if they can get their hands on the George Carpenter Cup, but they're 2 trucks strong this weekend, not sharing driving duties this year. Preston Perez in Toxic and Corey Snyder in Illuminator all weekend long, going after this guy, Jerry Beck in Dirt Crew, the current holder of the George Carpenter Cup for the last few years, and they have a lot to get through this weekend, a marathon weekend that includes racing, best trick, and freestyle, some event format changes we will fill you in on as we get deeper into this weekend's action. And if the tough trucks are any indication as to what we are going to see when we get racing here in just a moment, this should be a wild night of action as these guys are competing on the same track the monster trucks will be competing on in just a little bit. There was plenty of hang time to be had out there, and these are the street legal trucks right now, or sort of street legal. I don't know that you'd see that black square body going down the road, at least not legally here in Virginia Beach, but they certainly put on a show, and we'll be checking in with them all weekend long as the fans continue to file in. The jackets are going on, though, because the temperature is definitely dropping. The officials getting all the radios in place, getting the scorecards in place, and when we come back to the Virginia Beach oceanfront, we are going to go racing with the 2024 running of the Monsters on the Beach and the 25th anniversary of this awesome event. The chase for the cup starts next. Don't go anywhere.
This presentation is brought to you by Monsters Monthly, your place for photos, videos, event info, and all the happenings in the monster truck industry. Visit monstersmonthly.com. And by Crush This. For a weekly look inside the wide world of monster trucks, check out Crush This, Monster Truck Podcast. Available on Facebook, Spotify, and YouTube. This program is brought to you by RPM Army. For a wide array of content from across the motorsports world, visit rpmarmy.com. Your high performance fix on the go.
Well, as the sun sets to the west, the buoys float on the horizon to the east, and you can see that looming cloud cover out there on the horizon. Hopefully that storm system does not move in and wash us out, although a little rain sometimes will serve to help the Monsters get some traction, as it gets wet out here, it'd have the opposite effect that rain does on, say, a clay track, where it'll get real sloppy. Here on the sand, it'll actually clump up and sometimes make the track a bit tackier. Not by much, but any little bit of moisture on the sand can help. Here's a look at the format for this year. 10 trucks in the field, 8 trucks at each show. So there'll be 10 trucks in the points this weekend. 2 alternates will sit out each show, but if a truck drops out, one of those alternates will be brought in, so there's always a potential to gain points. The racing points are as follows. Racing win worth 30 points. A first-round loss worth 20 points. 23 points for a semifinal round loss, and 26 points for a final round loss. Best trick worth up to 5 points, or a best trick win, I should say, is worth 5 points. The scoring will be different there, and a freestyle is worth up to 40 points. Not a guaranteed 40 points if you win, but a perfect run would net you 40 points on your weekend total. There'll be a couple points drops through the weekend, but we'll tell you about that as the weekend goes on. Remember, 4 shows in 3 days, and this is always a battle of attrition. It starts with a battle of speed, a battle of daring, but it usually comes down to who survives their way into Sunday afternoon. Right now, as our first pair comes to the line, a pair of Ford body, a semi-Ford bodied machine. There you see Tim Jones out of the Show Me State in Tailgater, a name he purchased from Doug Melke a couple years back, and really been doing it proud. He's become a fan favorite all across the country. One of the wildest guys behind the wheel of a monster truck today, going side by side with the good old standby PEI chassis, now PEI REI hybrid Virginia Giant out of Fairfax, Virginia. Cliff Fowles' first time here. Jones with problems. Val led that all the way through, and Jones is going over. Backs into the barricades upside down. They have shut down both trucks. Safety crew headed down there immediately. Val got shut down on the ocean side just as a safety precaution. Right now, it does look like Tim Jones is okay, but they've got to figure out how to extricate him from the gully he just backed himself into in front of those barricades. You see the truck kind of fell down in a hole there. Just part of the multi-level safety system they have put in place, in front of the grandstands. As we get another look at the run that Tim Jones just had, you can see Val let him off the line, even with those bald tires. Those Chinas that have been on that truck for quite some time. You can see Tailgater not quite tracking straight. I'm not sure if he had a broken axle or a failure on a steering part or what, but you can see he gets off track with all that speed, got into the wheelie cars, tried to drive it out, but had no way to save it, it would appear. Just tumbles backward into that hole. And Jones now having to get picked up out of the gully there in front of the main water barricades. The truck looks all right. You see, though, again, I mentioned about a 4-foot drop down in front of those barricades, and it's just a little extra layer of security to keep the trucks away from the front of the grandstands, which are also back quite a ways from those barricades. So, again, safety number one here, and it came into play almost immediately as he got way out of shape. Word we're getting is he had a failure on a steering part out there. It looks like the steering lines actually came off on the front. Digging his way out of the sand down there. Taking the old Tailgater for a ride, and you can see he definitely does not have front steering at the moment. And we'll get him off the track. There goes the head of the Gator. And Tim Jones is going to try to bring it back from the dead right now. Stone Crusher, the hometown favorite, Steve Sims, legend now in the sport, from right here in Virginia Beach, going up against a former George Carpenter Cup winner as well as Steve Sims, that being John Gordon in the Chevrolet Bad Company out of Hiram, Georgia. The Georgia Chevrolet had it right from go. Steve Sims trying to run him down, but it just was not to be. As Sims heads back to the pits, he'll get ready for the best trick competition. The 4 losers in this round will come back and compete there. Oh, look at this! A big fire on the back of Bad Company. It looks like an alcohol fire as the flames are about clear down there near the headers. It looked like some fuel puked out of the up near the injector hat. And not quite sure what went wrong there. We didn't see any indication of a fire at first glance on the race. We'll see if we see anything here, but apparently it burst into flame as he was rolling off the track. Or if it was an alcohol fire, it may have been on fire before anybody noticed it, because alcohol does tend to burn clear. It'll start to pick up some color as additives and stuff burn, and some of these trucks run a fuel additive that gives the fuel a nice scent. But you can see right there, it is already burning when our cameras got on it. And he rolled to a stop, and that does indeed look like an alcohol fire. Not a lot of color in those flames, and it looked to be dripping down out of the area of the fuel delivery system there near the injector. So I do believe he may have had a fuel line come off, or maybe it backed up and puked some fuel out onto the hot engine. As Warp Motorsports goes to war teammates, Preston Perez on the ocean side, Corey Snyder on the near side. Third win of the day out of the Oceanside lane. Landside not able to get a victory so far in 3 races in round 1. So the Toxic Machine will move on to do battle. Snyder and the Illuminator will go to the best trick competition with that TMS Signature Series machine. And Corey stated over the years he would like to get back behind the wheel of this truck and see what he can do. And he says it's some real peppy machine. It's got a lot of power, a little bit lighter truck than the Illuminator, and it'll definitely get up and go now. As here's a guy who can get the job done, being Darren Basil in Blockhead. His last ride in that chassis. He'll be picking up the new chassis for the DCT Power Sports team here in another week when these guys head to Pennsylvania. Jerry Beck, though, and the old standby, a truck that actually used to belong to Jay Snyder. It's been through a lot of modifications. About the only thing left of the truck when it was Snyder's is the main rails. We'll see what he can do. All wins in round 1 out of the Oceanside lane. It does look like the near side is tracking kind of back and forth, so there may be ruts developing already on the near side, causing these guys to get bounced around a little more than they would like on the Landside lane. So Jerry Beck and Dirt Crew will head on into the semifinals. We'll see Basil back for the best trick competition. We're going to take a quick break and be back with more action from here on the Mid-Atlantic coast. Don't go anywhere.
Hey, welcome to Wildman Adventure. We're at the Silver Lake Sand Dragway. There really wasn't any off-roading back then. It was all off-road. We're on our way to Lima, Ohio. Got wooden wheels.
Oh, it's slippery as all get out.
Hey, we're here with Rich Cummins. Hey, we're here with Mike Potter. Hey, we're here with Alan Pizzo. Gotta check it out. This week we're going to go down memory lane.
This presentation is brought to you by Pioneer Pole Buildings. Looking for reliable strength on your next building project? You want a partner as tough as the task ahead. Pioneer Pole Buildings. Built for you, built to last for over 25 years.
Welcome back to Virginia Beach, Virginia. Hey, there's the best dad in town tonight, getting his son the best seat in the house, literally ocean side of the track. They're going to sit out there, I guess, and watch the action from off the coastline as everybody wants to be a part of this one. And Where would you rather be when you were a little kid? Hey, we're going to look at some best trick highlights from just a moment ago before we came back. We're going to have a semifinal round racing action coming up in just a moment as well. But here is, with the new event format, 2 or 3 hits these guys are going to take in that best trick competition. And Steve Sims, the hometown hero and now legend of monster truck competition, starting things off in fine fashion. A very, very strong run to set the stage. And that wild-looking Ford from right down the street. These guys don't have to go far to get parts, as their shop is right down the road here in Virginia Beach, Virginia, so you know they're going to run hard. He starts off the best trick competition with a score of 16. Right behind him, another Ford-bodied machine, this one powered by a big block KB Oldsmobile, the Illuminator. Corey Snyder out of Pigtown, Maryland. Looking awesome out here. Ties Steve Sims with a score of 16. And the guy who wanted to come out and be the tiebreaker was this guy right here, Darren Basil, going big off the bus stack. Little seaside back to landside jump down there. Lots of abrupt obstacles to get plenty of air out here tonight, but you got to find a safe track to them. A 22 would take over the lead. Tim Jones, though, having more bad luck in tailgater, just lost rear-wheel drive right there, and you cannot easily pull one of these trucks around the sand with only front-wheel drive. So his night is off to a rough start, but they're back there in the pits right now working on that thing. I have a feeling we're going to get quite a freestyle out of Tim when he comes back to the sand a little later tonight. Now, former champ against a guy who's here for the first time, now put in what has been the bad lane so far. Cliff Fowle and Virginia Giant on the near side. There's not been one win on the land side tonight. Oceanside has been the place to be, and that's where Hiram, Georgia's John Gordon is in the Hardy Chevrolet-sponsored Bad Company. Those big digging BKTs out there, and that should be to his advantage. And he's in a lane that appears to have a little more pack to it. The tide washes in on that side a lot more, so I have a feeling the ocean side is going to be the place to be this weekend. Good straight run for Gordon. He didn't let off any, but knocks Cliff Fowle out by about a 2-truck length lead at the end as he comes across. And keep in mind, we're not right on the finish line when you're watching these trucks go across, so when the races get real close, the camera angle might be a little bit deceptive as we pull Toxic back to the line here. Preston Perez looking for his first George Carpenter Cup. He would love to spend his last season behind the wheel of this truck, taking as many wins as possible. He said he's going to try to do it with consistency this year, not going big early. He wants to stay in the field and try to make sure he's still here Sunday afternoon, but don't think he's not going to get wild, especially going against the defending champ, Jerry Beck in Dirt Crew. That near side is real sloppy right now. I am not sure if it's just, like I said, the tide comes in, obviously, from the ocean side. That lane is going to take on a lot more water than what is being affectionately referred to as the land side. So the sand may literally be just more packed in down on that side, and it may be offering a little more traction to the trucks that are having to run over there than the trucks that have to run over here on the near side. I'm not sure if it's a traction issue that's causing these guys to kind of walk around in that lane, but if you watch it again, when Perez comes down the face of this hill, he's already having to counter the truck wanting to pull him to the left. There is a little rut down there that I can see forming, but really with these big wide tires, you wouldn't think it would make that much of a difference. However, to his right, there's about a 6-inch drop-off that's dragging these guys toward that big center mound, and it's making life real interesting for the guys that are having to run on this near side lane. But Jerry Beck not going to have to worry about it here in this championship race against John Gordon, because Gordon is now stuck in the bad lane. Look at him mowing down the top of the hill right there, trying to do himself a favor. Don't think Jerry's not over there looking at that. They're both going to put their foot to the floor. The weight advantage has to go to the ocean side as well, on that far side. Eddie Micah, though, having put his hands on both of these vehicles, two very powerful, very quick trucks, very consistent trucks in this game. Jerry Beck known more for freestyle victories than anything else, but he is quite the racer as he's been around for a while, taking on a very tough John Gordon and Bad Company. So close at the end. Waiting on word from Scott Heaton, the track announcer here this weekend. And the win will indeed go to John Gordon in Bad Company. The big black and orange machine out of Hiram, Georgia. Not gonna let that near lane affect him. The first win all night long out of the left lane, and it comes when he needed it the most. Bad Company gonna put 30 points on the board and take the early weekend points lead away from the defending champ, Jerry Beck, who will leave racing with 26 points. He's only 4 points back. He could reaccrue that very quickly. What a first night of racing it's been. We have freestyle coming your way in just a moment. The wildest action is yet to come. Don't go anywhere. Little track groom going on here on the Mid-Atlantic, because you don't think track groom too much when you think of monster truck racing, but just flattening out some of the ruts out there and putting a little pack on it. Give these guys a little straighter shot at some of those ramps, at least the guys early in the field. As we get ready now for freestyle, here's a look at the chase for the Cup points going into the freestyle competition. Bad Company, of course, with that race victory leading Jerry Beck, who was runner-up there. Blockhead, Illuminator, and Stone Crusher sitting in the top 5 spots right now. And you're talking about a group of trucks where really anybody out of this field could potentially be looking at the George Carpenter Cup Championship at the end of this weekend. It's a very solid lineup as we see the bottom 5 in the field. Hooked and Maximus are the 2 trucks that are not going to be in action here tonight unless somebody falls out. Remember, there are going to be 8 trucks in the event, if at all possible. But as it goes right now, those 2 trucks are sitting out. First up in freestyle will be the man who is taking his first ride on the sands of the Old Dominion Ocean Front. Virginia's own Cliff Fowl and the legendary Virginia Giant. Truck that was assembled back in 2009, I believe. Still out here running with the best of as he lands hard on the left front. You saw that puff. I do believe he has just blown a shock on the left front. As you can see that big cloud of will look to be oil come out of the front of that truck. There's no engine up there. It wasn't fuel and it wasn't air, and the tire does seem to have some moisture on it, so something coming apart on the left front right there. He's going to keep going for it, but he keeps landing hard on that left front side. If he could get a hit going the other way, he might be able to reorient those sway bars, because he's definitely got them tweaked right now, but you can see the oil on the back of that tire. He has done some damage to that left front suspension. It's not stopping him, though. He said he was going to make quite the introduction in front of this crowd here tonight. He had to. This is probably the biggest event he's gotten to be part of in a relatively young career. He's been around for about 6 or 7 years now, which doesn't seem like a young career, but a lot more driving time in the last 3 or 4 years, especially since the 2020 shutdown season, where he started to really come into his own, and then not long after that becoming the official owner of this truck. Now really putting it through its paces here tonight in spite of apparent damage to the front end. That'll get him standing and cheering. Throwing caution to the wind, Cliff Fowl in the Virginia Giant out of Fairfax, Virginia. Driving the big silver and blue Ford. Built its legacy in the little town of Winchester. Coming to the end of an awesome opening statement. And he will wrap up that freestyle run in fine fashion in front of the crowd here tonight as we get another look at some of the highlights. Here is where the initial damage happened, and we'll get a very good indication as to what actually let go when he comes down. Okay, it was a shock. You can see it spin. It looks like he actually may have blown the bypass tube out on that shock. You see it spit down toward the housing there, and then this hit as well didn't help it out any, but it probably didn't have any oil or gas left in it when it came down for that. I'm not sure which shock actually blew out. They run 2 on each corner on this truck, and that was awesome right there. Rare sight to see that truck in that configuration, but Cliff taking it to new heights. A score of 26 to open up this freestyle competition. Remember, potential 40 points for anybody that can make a perfect run, but it's going to be hard to get there. Here comes a guy who can do it, though. John Gordon of Hiram, Georgia, had the fire in round 1 of racing, still managed to come back and win the whole thing, and he would love to take both racing and freestyle here tonight. Again, pitching these guys hard to the left when they're coming over those obstacles, those bus jumps. Those are tricky. You want to have a lot of momentum when you go at those to get the truck to loft up and over, because you don't want to get tripped up too bad and end up endoing. It looks like he might be puking a little fluid out in the back. I'm not quite sure what that is. Could be just an overflow tube, or there could be something going wrong back there, but he did indeed have the that new electronic fuel injection system puke a little bit of fuel out onto the hot engine earlier. When it got down the headers, it lit everything up. And then with basically an open source right there, as the fuel vapor came out, it would just keep igniting. And doesn't look like he's having that problem now, but a lot of these guys who went to that EFI system have been dealing with a few little gremlins here and there, but the truck's running nicely. That fuel system does work very well once you get the tune right, once you get all the little bugs figured out. And John Gordon does a nice job here in Virginia Beach trying to gain a championship he hasn't had access to in quite some time. Down hard on the right front now. The Eddie Micah built bad company sliding to a stop in front of the main grandstands, and again, a lot of hang time. This is always known as a big air track, and he definitely had plenty of that. Hard on the left front, we saw that from Cliff Val as well, and we're going to keep an eye on those bus stacks coming at them from the outside path. Looks like it may pitch you over both ways. A score of 34 for John Gordon and Bad Company, launching him into the lead. But pulling out now, a guy living the dream, the Bull Snot sponsored Preston Perez in the Warp Motorsports Toxic. And no, I did not say that wrong. That is the Bull Snot sponsored Preston Perez in the Warp Motorsports Toxic. Ready to go at it. This guy trying to jump over that 34, and I don't know if he actually knows what the freestyle score is. I don't know if he saw the run that Gordon laid down, but he is taking a ride already. Hard on that left front again. These obstacles pitching them left and right. It sometimes is easier on the driver to land on one corner or the other and let the suspension kind of work its way around instead of flat landing the truck. It can be a lot softer landing when you land one corner or the other, and it doesn't jolt the driver flat down in the seat as much. But the thing that can do is put undue stress on those sway bar arms, the sway bar adjusters, and the sway bars themselves, and that can put you out of competition in a hurry. That truck is always known for some awesome slap wheelies, and Perez has been working to find that happy medium in there to get that truck to work the way he wants it to. That was a solid launch off that bus. There is something I'm keeping an eye on right here, though. Watch, the rear end is hopping very strangely when he comes down to those flatlands. It looks like the rear end wants to kind of climb over the front. So I'm wondering if he's got some shots that are bypassed in the rear of this truck, because it really shouldn't be throwing the front, or excuse me, throwing the rear like that. But he's got him a good run going. Hang on, Preston. Got kicked hard right. And he has blown out the right rear tire. Continuing on. I'm going to guess that they radioed down to him. They do have onboard communications in most of these trucks, and I'm going to guess they radioed down and told him he had a blown tire and to go ahead and shut it down. Interesting thing here is, being in this soft sand, you may not be able to feel that tire let go immediately because it feels so odd for these guys, they say, to be driving out here on this surface. So you may not have felt that corner actually was gone, but right there when he got into the throttle to save it, normally that probably wouldn't have blown that tire out with that bead-locked rim, but when you take that sand and press it up into that bead in between that lock and that actual bead of that tire, it will force that thing right off the rim. A score of 30, and he apparently has actually shredded the back sidewall of that tire, so they're going to be working to get that thing off the rim and put a new one on before action tomorrow. Now, they have a spare in the trailer, but I'm not sure if they're going to put a new piece of rubber on that rim or if they're going to go to the spare rim as Frank Kreml rolls out in hooked. So one of our alternates has come out here for Freestyle, as we see right now. I'm not sure what truck we actually lost here in Freestyle. Kreml, though, apparently having some troubles himself. Big hang time for that big PEI chassis from right down the road. right here from Virginia Beach, Virginia, being piloted by the legendary driver out of Detroit, Michigan. Kreml spent time with many a team over the years, one of the legends of monster trucks of Michigan, and worked for Jim Kohler and many others. Now at the wheel of Hooked, we've seen him behind the wheel of some of the company trucks over the years, and never disappoints as he lays down a solid one. Still trying to get past John Gordon's 34. Hard hit right there again. Coming in from the outside of that jump on both sides seems to be really throwing these guys for a loop. That was a hard hit. Rebounds off the front shocks, and Frank Kreml gonna bring it to a stop in Hooked, his first shot on the sand this weekend. The beautiful Chevrolet from right here in Virginia Beach, Virginia, again being piloted by the man from Michigan, laying down an awesome run, going after John Gordon. Remember, there was a little bit of a stoppage in momentum as he was having some kind of problem when he first brought the truck out. But this was awesome. A lot of hang time, some wild moves, plenty of momentum once it got up and going. Did he beat the 34? That's only a 29 for Frank Kreml. I don't know that he would agree with that score at the end of the night, but if anybody can get past John Gordon, here's a guy who can do it. Darren Basil in Blockhead, driving for the DCT Power Sports team out of Lafayette, Indiana, and we know this truck is capable of some incredible hang time. This is one of the two older chassis on this team. It's been gone over by Eddie Micah, but this will be Darren's last ride in this truck before he gets his new chassis. He'll be going back to a coilover setup on the new truck, but he wants to put this down in fine fashion. Jared Smith will be taking over the wheel of this particular chassis under several different identities throughout the 2024 season. Darren will also be campaigning a few identities, but he'll have his blockhead body back on this machine after a couple of weeks on his new machine in 2024. But laying down a heck of a run in the meantime. Let's see, going after a 34 of John Gordon. I thought he may have lost front-wheel drive, but when that tire touched down, it did spit a big rooster tail out, so he's still got front-wheel drive. Trying to climb around in this sand. Driver who, just seems to have reached a new level since he got behind the wheel of this machine. And again, with the new chassis coming and the suspension setup that he really likes, that he's going to get to hone and tune. I think we're going to see a whole new Darren Basil, if we already don't have an awesome Darren Basil right here. A lot of tail slap right there, and that machine that was originally designed and built by Jerry Richmond and Tim Tesmer years and years ago, still getting put through its paces, and it's not going anywhere. It's just going to have Jared Smith behind the wheel once Darren steps out of it, but right here is why you don't want to buy a used car. In this day and age, Jared may have a little work to do when he jumps behind the wheel of this truck, because Darren is not treating it nice this weekend. What a show to be handing a truck over to another driver after. Monsters on the Beach is not a show that's kind or easy on vehicles. Darren Basil proving it right here beyond a shadow of a doubt. That has to be a takeover run. if not one that will tie John Gordon, because there was plenty of wild, big air in that run, and he does it at 35, 1 point over Darren Basil in blockhead. And the word we get is that Jerry Beck in Dirt Crew will not be freestyling, so that is why the replacement for Frank Primmel, or the replacement by Frank Primmel in Hooked, Jerry Beck in Dirt Crew apparently has a blown motor. So they are going to have a long night of thrash to get their trucks back to 100% for tomorrow, because Darren, I guarantee, did a little bit of damage on that run. Now as Corey Snyder gets ready to throw down here in the Illuminator, the Warp Motorsports Illuminator out of Pigtown, Maryland. Getting huge out there as it whips him around. You can see as soft as this sand is, it'll still put a hurting on you. Interesting to see what this team will do this weekend, because one of the things that they're really known for is consistency, being able to survive through a lot of the shows where a lot of other guys will put a hurting on trucks early, and then they'll still be around without having to thrash too much. But last year they weren't able to do that. Preston Perez really put this truck through its paces and did not come out on the good side of it so much. They had a lot of damage last year. Hopefully that will not be the way it goes this year, but Preston Perez already gave him a bit of work to do up top when they get these trucks parked. However, this truck handling just about everything that Corey's throwing at it right now. I don't think this is going to be a winning run, but he's going to gain some valuable points at the end of this one that will go toward his overall weekend score. And he's doing a nice job right there, picking his way into a wheelie, a nice slap wheelie off the buses right there for the Illuminator. That's something he always loves doing, showing the power of that big KB Olds. And he'll bring the run to an end, a solid freestyle for the Illuminator. And this is going to be one of the last runs for the KB Olds, because that motor will be coming out and going in the War Wizard, as it is actually the twin engine to the engine that is already in the War Wizard right now. So their engine's built by Kevin Stauffer. Both of those teams' engines built by Kevin Stauffer out of Waynesboro, Pennsylvania. And you can see he built them just a ton of horsepower so they can do things like that. 31, not bad. I said he was going to earn some valuable points, and he did so as he was chasing Darren Basil, who wanted to set the bar much higher because he knew this guy was still to come. Steve Sims, as always, the hometown hero does not tend to disappoint. It may be short, but it's always sweet. He'd love to lay down some of those trademark big air Steve Sims marathon freestyles here this weekend. It's another Patrick chassis that has just been put through the ringer for so long, and it's had to be rebuilt, welded, fixed, patched so many times. This and Hooked both have just had the most brutal history of just about any chassis out there that's still running right now. Massive hang time for Steve Sims, and you can see the rebound on that truck again in spite of how soft the sand is, how hard it becomes when you hit it from that altitude. But his speed right now, his momentum's about second to none. He's going move to move, just shredding the lanes, shredding the ramps, and putting the truck into low orbit here under the night sky in Virginia Beach, Virginia, as the rain has begun to come down a little bit. Showering down the grounds crew with sand and filling up the dumpsters. Steve Sims in Stone Crusher has the fans on their feet. Brake rotor's getting hot. You see it's driveline brakes on these trucks. That's no problem. He's melting down the pads most likely, so they're starting to weld themselves up. You can see there was still sparks there when he started to pull away. And that's not too hard to fix. You have to go in there and put new pads in, maybe replace a brake rotor or two, but they put those brake rotors through absolute hell each and every weekend, especially on a track like this where you're getting all this huge hang time, and Sims has always been known for that big, long air. Definitely not disappointing here tonight. We'll see what the score is as it comes in. He's got one more competitor behind him. Look at the hang time there, 34 for Steve Sims, so he's 1 point off the number one pace. Darren Basil still hanging on to that top spot. But here's a guy I said would get it fixed for Freestyle and is not about to disappoint the loyal fans at Monsters on the Beach 2024. Tim Jones out of the state of Missouri in the tailgater. Hard hit. He got pitched very strangely right there. I don't know if the tire just dug in. He looks to have broken an axle. Maybe a locker's going away, but it does look like he's broken maybe a rear axle, and it's throwing that truck in some odd directions right now, but he's not letting it stop him. Over for the second time this weekend in one event. Tim Jones has all but destroyed the body of the beautiful tailgater. This guy goes out of his way to make this truck look good at the beginning of every new season. Every time he goes to his fiberglass people, every time he puts a new wrap on it, and he does not mind tearing that fiberglass up for the greatest fans in motorsports. Look at him walking it. Caught an edge, one wheel grabbed, one didn't, and over he went. A score of 19 for Tim Jones. So your Freestyle winner will be Darren Basil in Blockhead, which will do him a bunch of favors as he is now only 4 points off the top. Here you see the leader in the chase for the George Carpenter Cup is indeed John Gordon in Bad Company. Blockhead and Stone Crusher leading the top three. Illuminator and Toxic Warp Motorsports in good standing here tonight, so their consistency aim is working for him. Virginia Giant with 49 sits atop the bottom five. Tailgater Tim Jones not having the weekend start that he was hoping for, but I guarantee you he'll have something for the rest of this weekend. Hooked getting an early start to the weekend that he wasn't supposed to have as he took over for Jerry Beck in Dirt Crew, who is currently nursing a blown motor. Maximus has not run this weekend, but will run here on our next edition of coverage from Virginia Beach, Virginia. So a big congratulations to John Gordon on the weekend start. Congratulations to Darren Basil, your Freestyle winner. Of course, John, the racing winner. Thanks for joining us as these guys get to work on Friday night to get ready for Saturday. You're not going to want to miss that. That'll be coming at you next time.
This Back Channel Productions presentation has been brought to you by Gemini Associates. Whether you live upstairs, downstairs, or anywhere in general, we are here to serve.